Hello, my fellow rogues. You come to the right place. Welcome to the Rogue Show. And today, if I can adjust my camera real quick, we are reading a book. And no, this is not a good book. So, if you're watching, please like and subscribe. Damn it. Because I read this shit. I'm gonna read this shit so you don't have to. And I'm going to take it chapter by chapter because that just makes the most sense. The later chapters get really bad, I think, or get somewhat bad. But the first chapter of this book is actually kind of nice, so I shouldn't have that much trouble, unless they secretly find out that I'm illiterate. Anyways, so chapter 1, my introduction to death. Oh yeah, this is by some guy named Greg Heshberg. So he's also a rabbi. That is not important. That is really not important. Okay, let's go. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was sitting in a bathtub as an 8-year-old boy and overhearing my mom crying as she told my dad my grandmother had died. It had made me so sad, not only to hear my mother crying, but also to know that I would never see my grandmother again. Man, that is tough. I actually feel bad. I won't have to. I'll get over it real quick. Um, where the fuck was I? Even though I knew very little about death and dying, I knew enough to know that she was gone forever. She was my last grandparent, and it hurt so much. Not only was she my last living grandparent, but she was a beautiful person with a gentle spirit. She always made me feel loved. No one ever spoke to me about death, and I never had anyone close to me die. So I really did not know much about what happens to a person after death. Death is a subject that most of us don't like to think about or talk about, yet sadly enough, we all experience it. In fact, most of us lose many friends, family members, and other loved ones throughout our lives. Um, before we keep going, I just want to say that if my little joke about getting over it quick was too insensitive, I am truly sorry because I don't have a filter, especially at night, and that's probably uncalled for, given that um death death is like really painful when you're losing a family member. I mean, not even a fucking family member, because I I bawled crying when one of my friend's sons passed away. Um, and I and the weird thing is that I barely met him, and it was like I was crying I was crying till my eyes were bloodshot red for for the man. Like he was from what I've heard about him, he was like a really good guy. So I'm sorry I made that. So I'm sorry I made that joke. That was not cool of me. And actually this is actually the good part of this book, or that was actually the good part of this book. Um, Getting his story out there important. That aside, let's continue. It is a sad reality that we don't like to face. Even when a person dies, we tend to use terminology that will soften the blow. We say things such as, she passed, he's in a better place, or he went home. That is probably, that sort of rhetoric, as far as a sidetrack goes, that sort of rhetoric about them passing or in a better place, just please, if you have a child, they're trying to comprehend what happened, just tell them that, just don't soften the blow, okay? Saying she passed or she's in a better place, it's just kind of just gaslighting, I guess, and it's kind of just dumb. It's dumb. They're eventually gonna find out about death someday. You don't need to lie to your kid about that. That's just my opinion. The fact of the matter is that the person died. There are many reasons why so many people are afraid to die. One reason is the fear of the unknown, which is true. Death remains the ultimate unknown because no one in human history has survived to tell us what really happens after we take our last breath. Though some Christians, some Muslims, even some Hindus are like, I saw Jesus, or I saw Allah, or Muhammad, or I saw Krishna. So there's that, which he addresses immediately after. And it says, there are some people out there who claimed to have died, and then went either to heaven or hell. But since there is no scientific proof to back up their stories, they are not widely accepted. I agree. So good on you. It is human nature to want to understand and make sense of the world around us. That's also true. Another reason why people are afraid of death is the fear of non-existence. Many people fear the idea that they will completely cease to exist. We might typically associate this fear with atheists or others. I just want to say that's kind of bullshit, because there are plenty of atheists who don't fear death. We can attribute that fear of death to fucking theists who say that there is an afterlife, because a lot of there's you can look it up. The fear of death, it's kind of like an original it's an original part about religion, where people make stories to uh, gain some comfort, or gain some solace with the fact that they're gonna die. But I think, I mean, he does. Greg Heshberg does deal with the concept of death pretty well, I think, but not this time, because atheists often Atheists often embrace the fact that they're going to die. So that sort of gives us reason to live our lives, maybe do some good in the world, make make a name of ourselves. So there's much less fear of death for atheists than theists. But let's put that aside and keep going. Where? So yeah, we might typically associate the fear with theists and not the atheists. Okay, here we are. I'll just restart the sentence. We might typically associate this fear with atheists or others who do not have personal or spiritual or religious beliefs. However, many people of faith also worry that their belief in an afterlife may not be true after all, or that they did not earn eternal life while alive. Once again, I find the wording to be problematic. Let me see. Notice how he says, however, many people of faith also worry that their belief in an afterlife may not be true after all, or that they did not earn eternal life while alive. Bruh. I might be like overreacting or some shit, but how the fuck are atheists also worrying about not making it to eternity if they don't believe in eternity? That's just how I read it, and it makes no sense. What also doesn't make no sense? Doesn't make no sense. Yes, even people of faith also struggle with the ideas of death and the afterlife. Once again, atheists are not. They're not. I promise you, we are not struggling with the idea of an afterlife. Then there's a fear of eternal punishment. I won't go into that. Similar to the fear of non-existence, this belief does not apply just to devout religious people or sincere spiritual believers. Many people, regardless of their religious persuasion or lack of spiritual beliefs, citation needed, because it sounds like fucking nonsense to me. Like, how can an atheist who lacks a belief in a god also say, you know what, there's an afterlife, and I'm scared to fucking death that I'm going to be punished? Like, how the fuck does that make sense? Anyways, many people, regardless of the religion's persuasion or lack of spiritual beliefs, fear that they will be punished for what they did or did not do while here on earth. They have this innate sense that they will have to pay for the wrongdoings. Once again, no, not everyone does. There is also the fear of loss of control, which is probably the greatest reason to fear death. I mean, seriously, we as human beings love bodily autonomy. Us most rational people love to advocate for policies and things that increase our bodily autonomy. And when you're dead, you don't have bodily autonomy. You don't have control anymore. I mean, we already fear the loss of control. Like when something goes wrong in our lives, we're prone to panic because we want to have control over our lives. We want to have control over our situations. And yeah, let's continue. Human nature generally seeks to control the situations we encounter, but death remains something over which basically we have no control. This frightens many people. Some people may attempt to exert form of control over death by behaving in an extremely careful manner to avoid risks or undergoing a rigorous, frequent health checks. Now, I originally was like, come on now. Just because there is a fear of death does not. I guarantee that's not a reason why most people go to the hospital or go to a doctor, because we don't we don't want to live suffering. We don't want to live in pain. That's natural. That's what naturally happens as far as us apes go. But death remains something over which we basically have no control over. This frightens many people. Some people may attempt to exert form of control over death by behavior. Whoopsie. But the fact of the matter, I already read that part of the frequent health checks. Oh yeah, at first I was annoyed about it, but that's not what it was indicating. That's not what that sentence was indicating. It was indicating there are people who take it, who do all the precautionaries, like going to a doctor, or like a dentist, optometrist, all that fun. There are people who do that, but extreme. Like, how high is my? Oh no, my cholesterol level is 15.1. That's different from, or that's more than my 15 flat level amount of cholesterol. those people suck because they don't just live your life. Anyways, when was I? I'm like a fucking boomer when they when they rant about like what happened in 1952 is my grandson took a shit. I'm saying that and it's distracting me. Okay, I found a passage. Okay. Lastly, there is the fear of what will become our loved ones. Another very common fear surrounding death focuses on the concern of what will happen to those entrusted to our care if we die. Parents, for example, might worry about a newborn or other child family members who provide home care to a loved one. I read this wrong. Family members who provide home care to a loved one might fear that no one else can handle their patient's many needs and demands. Someone in the prime of life might feel afraid at the thought of leaving a spouse alone due to death. A healthy fear of death can remind us to make the most of our time here on earth and to take not to take out relationships here for granted. Fearing the reality of death might also push us to work harder in order to leave a lasting legacy. George Bernard Shaw summed it up well by saying, I want it to be thoroughly used up when I die. For the harder I work, the more I live. With that being said, death is somewhat of an enigma that desperately needs to be discussed, no matter the cost, considering we will all die. And that is chapter 1 of Don't Die for Your Sins. Now, let me tell you, that was a more or less inoffensive chapter. I say, and the next chapter, I'm going to regret that I ever tried making this project, because there's going to be a lot of damn research that's going to have to be involved. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed my reading. Alright, and your little bedtime story. And before we wrap this up, I want to comment on one last thing. Is that Mr. Heshberg, I think he does a good job on I think he does a good job, mostly, on the handling the concept of death. At least in this chapter, things are about to get much worse. But anyways, yeah, I I'm agreeing. I am agreement. Go live your life the way you want it, without killing people, uh, without doing all the sadistic shit. Go do that, because go achieve things. Trust me. You'll feel more alive than ever when you make connections with people, when you go out there and achieve your goals, and go experience new things. But there is something that has to be addressed. Greg Heshberg is a rabbi. He's a Jew. He is a theist, pretty much. That's what rabbis are, but Jewish. Or that's what pastors are, but Jewish. So he's coming in this topic with a Christian perspective. And guess what Christianity has? An afterlife. And let me pose this question. If you know that you're going to an afterlife, that's gonna be like paradise or something. What does it matter to when you do good things? what does it really matter? What does it really matter? Why should? What's the motive for doing good doing good things if you know you're going up to afterlife? Good things such as taking care of the planet, or taking care of the planet, or really, yeah. I don't have much to say. Examples on the spot. Um, but yeah, it just perplexes me. When Christians or Christians tell me, like, or ask me, like, if you're just gonna die anyways and there's no afterlife, what does it matter that you help people? Is that my dog? No. I could ask the same fucking thing. If you have, if you, if you're working towards an afterlife, what the fuck is the point? What the hell is the point of this life? Because I know, as an atheist and a naturalist, it's pretty damn important. Because this is the only life we're gonna get, folks. This is it. This is it. After we're dead, we're dead. So we got. So this one life, in a short time, Americans would expect. I say short time because the life expectancy rate is like 80 years old. That's the average for adult. Or that's the average for Americans. But we're on the. But life, you often heard, is short. And since I'm an atheist and a naturalist, I gotta make the best of my life. I gotta get out there and do some good stuff. Get out there and experience the world around me before my time is up. Get out there and the most important thing, get out there and make communities, make friends, find love if you're into that. But I can't stress this enough. With theists, there is zero fucking reason to there's zero fucking reason to clean up a fucking carpet if you know you're gonna get a new one eventually. That's an analogy I stole from someone. His name is Forrest Falcai, but it's a good one, so I'm borrowing it. But that's what I have to say. Hopefully it's not too incoherent. And once again, like, comment, and subscribe. For fuck's sake. I need your support. For whatever reason. Also, I have a question. I guess I have a question to ask. Please let me know if I need to dial down the abrasiveness. Because maybe my edgelordness could end up hindering my communication or hindering it going well. So let me know if I should dial that down a bit so I can work better, so I can become a better communicator. Otherwise, hope you enjoyed me reading a book for once, and yeah, get lost.